This video demonstrates your next programming assignment. Some of the objectives will be adding items dynamically to a list box, creating a StreamWriter object which will output all of the items in your list box to a text file. In order to do that, you will need to loop. So let me show you a couple of the properties I've set in this GUI. I will click on, this is where your user is going to enter a 2-character abbreviation for any state they have visited. To make sure it stays to 2 characters, you can come over to the properties for that text box and notice that there's a maximum length property. I've set it to 2. So your user will not even be able to enter a 3-character state. In addition, I've set the character casing to upper. So by doing this, we will have uppercase abbreviations for the state. Let's look at the form properties. Some other properties you may not have set for a form are the accept button. So I'm going to use my add button as my accept button. What the accept button property does is when the user hits the enter key, it will execute the click event for that button. It allows for faster data entry because the user that doesn't have to use the mouse to get that code to run. In addition, a form has a cancel button property, and the cancel button property I set to the exit button, and the code in the exit button will execute when the escape key is hit. So once again, no longer needing to click on the exit button. You could click on the exit button, but you don't need to now. And I know the textbook has addressed this before, but the start position, center screen, will start my application right in the center of the screen. So let's demonstrate how this works. User is going to enter a 2-character abbreviation for a state they visited. Click the add button, it adds to the list box. If I try to add more than 2, notice I get an error. And notice it's automatically making it uppercase due to the properties that's been set. When the exit button is clicked, all the values in the list box are written to a text file. This text file, which you will be creating using the StreamWriter object, is saved in the debug folder, which is inside the bin folder, which is inside your project name, which is inside projects, which is inside the Visual Studio 2012. So here is where my text file is saved. When I created it, I created a file called text.state, and as you can see over here, the content is exactly what I had entered. So let's demonstrate one more time to show you that it does overwrite if you put in different data. California, Florida, Iowa, Minnesota, Virginia, Maryland, Tennessee, Texas, and so on. All done? Okay. Exit. It's in the exit button where I create the StreamReader object, and then we'll loop through all of the items in the list box, and using the write line method, I output each item in the list box into the text file. Okay, so let's see what happens if there are no items left. So I'm going to click exit, and the count property for the list box items is 0. No states. Oh, it looks like I have an error there. You have never visited any states. State save error. So I got a message box happening if the count is 0. Okay, what happens if there is an error saving the file? So if there's I've put this in a try catch. The process of trying to create the text. I do need to maybe modify my code. Okay, so what I did was I added an invalid path, a folder that doesn't exist when I'm trying to save a file. And so when it tries to create the file in a folder that doesn't exist, it does throw an error. So since I put it in a try catch, I showed in the catch clause, I showed a message box that indicates the error. So let's test this and make sure that that error message comes up. And yes, error in saving file, and that is because The path to the file did not exist. Now what I recommend that you do is don't put a path in there. And if you don't put a path in your file, so here's what I did right here. But if you don't put a path in your file, then you won't get the error message. Simply put a file name in like that, and it'll save in that bin debug folder that I mentioned earlier. Good luck and have fun writing the application.